Wait, she told me that she would reinstate a restraining order I previously had against my ex-husband. So I wonder if she knew about this restraining order. That was her chance right there. So she's saying in the affidavits that, oh, the court clerk has been talking to the jury, has been making comments. But here we have Judge Newman specifically asking, hey, has she been talking to any of the jurors about the case? And she says, not that I know of. Ms. Hill told jurors, y'all are going to hear things that will throw you all off. I mean, I just don't see why she wouldn't have screenshotted this or why she wouldn't have went to Judge Newman right away. I'm just saying that's a lot of work. She would have to know that the ex-husband and her are not on speaking terms. So they just had their press conference. This is their motion to suspend appeal. So they put in a notice for an appeal a couple months ago, but right now they want to suspend that appeal and they want to have this evidentiary hearing because they want to file for a new trial. And Harpootlian says that the Attorney General, is it the Attorney General? Attorney General has about 10 days to respond to their motion. So for September 15th, we'll keep an eye out for that. But they want to file a new motion for a new trial. Now, initially, when I heard about this, I was like, this is just probably some nonsense stuff. I don't know. Like attorneys, they be reaching sometimes. Like we even hear about Lori Vallow. Lori Vallow put in an appeal. I think she wants to appeal her trial. And, you know, I feel like it's mostly just like lawyers are always trying to do whatever they can for their client to get a new trial, to appeal, da-da-da-da. And so initially when I heard about this, I was like, oh, well, let's see what weirdness that they're up to. But after reading this entire doc, I don't know. It sounds like some pretty crazy accusations that they're throwing at the court clerk. I'm going to read this. We're going to go through the exhibits. All right. So appellate Richard Alex Murdaugh, pursuant to Rule 29B of South Carolina Rules of Criminal Procedure, hereby moves for leave to file a motion for a new trial based on after discovered evidence in the Court of General Sessions and to suspend this appeal during the pendency of that motion. Appellant offers a copy of the motion for a new trial attached as Exhibit 1 with his own exhibit labeled Exhibit A through Exhibit L as a memorandum in support of this motion and documents supporting facts relied upon and not contained in the record on appeal as required by Rule 240 of the South Carolina Rules of Appellate Procedure. Dick Harpootlian. Oh, Mr. Barber's name is Philip. Okay, Philip Barber. I only know him as Mr. Barber. Exhibit, what is this? Exhibit 1? Copy of motion for new trial and exhibits A through L. Defendant Richard Alexander Murdaugh, through undersigned counsel, pursuant to Rule 29B of South Carolina Rules of Criminal Procedures, hereby moves the court for a new trial after discovering that the clerk of court tampered with the jury by advising them not to believe Murdaugh's testimony and other evidence presented by the defense, pressuring them to reach a quick guilty verdict and even misrepresenting critical and material information to the trial judge in her campaign to remove a juror she believed to be favorable to the defense. Now, I do want to say this, that Rebecca Hill has responded, but not like a lengthy response or anything. Apparently, Chanley Painter reached out to her and Rebecca Hill says, I'm working on a statement now. This is so untrue. This is her book right here, Behind the Doors of Justice, The Murdaugh Murders. And honestly, I looked up what she looked like. I don't remember seeing her in trial, to be honest. But this is an interview that she did with Court TV shortly after the guilty verdict and when the book came out. Do you guys remember when the guilty verdict came out for Murdaugh? Was it in April? Because I feel like things just happen really quickly. So that is her right there. That's the one that they are accused of doing behind the scenes stuff. So that's her, and that's her co-author. I'm not really quite sure the co-author, that's her husband or something, but that's her co-author right there. But anyways, again, this is all alleged, by the way. So specifically, during trial, the Colleton County Clerk of Court, Rebecca Hill, instructed jurors not to be misled by evidence presented in Mr. Murdaugh's defense. That's kind of weird. She told jurors not to be fooled by Mr. Murdaugh's testimony in his own defense. Ms. Hill had frequent private conversations with the jury foreperson, a court appointed substitution for the foreperson the jury elected for itself at the request of Ms. Hill. During the trial, Ms. Hill asked jurors for their opinions about Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocence. Actually, let me see. I think Judge Newman was very clear that the jurors not talk to anyone, even amongst themselves, about the trial. Now, perhaps some of them were confused. Maybe when the judge meant anyone, they weren't sure that anyone also included the clerk of the court. Maybe. Miss Hill invented a story about a Facebook post to remove a juror she believed might vote not guilty. Ms. Hill pressured the jurors to reach a quick verdict, telling them from the outset of their deliberation that it shouldn't take them long. Ms. Hill did these things to secure for herself a book deal and media appearances that would not happen in the event of a mistrial. Ms. Hill betrayed her oath of office for money and fame. Once these facts are proven, the law does not allow the court any discretion about how to respond. It must grant a new trial. I don't know. I think even if Alex Murdaugh's verdict came out as not guilty, I feel like she would still be able to do her book deal. She would still be able to do her media appearance and stuff like that. So I don't know if she was really I get what they're trying to say, but I feel like, if he was found not guilty, I think that would have been more, I don't know, more fire. I don't know. I feel like there would have been more upheavals about it. Once these facts are proven, the law does not allow the court any discretion about how to respond. It must grant a new trial. Number 1, the statement of facts. Mr. Murdaugh was indicted for the murder of his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul, on July 14, 2022. His murder trial began January 23, 2023. The presiding judge was Honorable Clifton Newman. The trial ran for 6 weeks, ending with a conviction on the evenings of March 2nd. Oh, that was March 2nd. I think her book came out 2 months after that in May. March 2nd, 2023, and sentencing on March 3rd, 2023. She didn't want a hung jury because she wouldn't be able to finish her book. Oh, is what they're kind of saying. I mean, she could just end the book with, it's a hung jury, and let's talk about the corruptions, I guess, of Alex Murdaugh. I mean, yeah, I get it, but I'm I don't know. I feel like the book thing could have still happened. I don't know. If anything, that could lead her to write more books about the trial instead of having the trial end there. Ms. Hill self-published a book, so there is no book deal. Yep, someone in the one of the news reporters asked that, and Dick Harpootlian was like, "Well, there's the potential of making money, So maybe they didn't know that's exact detail, but they were saying that she had the potential to make money to sell the book and do the tour, I guess. The state rested its case in chief, and the defense began its case on Friday, February 17th, 2023. Court was not held on February 20th, which was President's Day. After returning from holiday, Ms. Hill began to enter the jury's room often. The affidavit of juror number 630 on August 14, 2023, attached at Exhibit A. So I'm going to read that exhibit really quick, just so we're not jumping back and forth too much and it's not confusing. So this is the affidavit of juror number 630. Personally appeared before me, blanked, who being first duly sworn, deposes and states as follow. Number 1, I was juror 630 in the case of State of South Carolina versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, tried in Colleton County, South Carolina. Number 2, toward the end of the trial after President's Day break, but before Mr. Murdaugh testified, the Clerk of Court, Rebecca Hill, told the jury not to be fooled by the evidence presented by Mr. Murdaugh's attorney, which I understood to mean that Mr. Murdaugh would lie when he testified. Number 3, she also instructed the jury to watch him closely immediately before he testified, and including look at his actions and look at his movements, which I understood to mean that he was guilty. Number 4, immediately after he testified, the foreperson, blanked out juror 826, said Mr. Murdaugh was crying on cue. So again, they're not supposed to talk amongst each other. Number 5, the foreperson, juror 826, criticized the former foreperson, blanked out juror 589, for handling Mr. Murdaugh a box of tissues when he was crying on the stand while testifying about his murdered son. She told the jury, we cannot interact with Murdaugh because that's what the defense wants us to do. It would make sense to me if the juror wouldn't, even if it was to hand a box of tissues, it would make sense to me if a juror wasn't able to interact with Murdaugh in that sort of capacity. But I would expect that admonishment to come from the judge, not from another person. But oh my God, we got to keep track of these juror numbers. So we have juror 630. I feel like it's kind of hard to keep track of who's who. I don't know if I should put it up there. Can you guys see that? I'll put it up there for now. We'll see. Okay. Why risk all of that? Does anyone think Murdaugh is innocent? But why would many jurors independently lie is what I don't understand. They work so hard, so I don't know. She don't matter because she was not one of the jurors that voted on his guilt. If this is not made into a movie, I don't know. I'm sure it will be. Okay, so we have juror 589 give the tissue to Murdaugh. Okay. So the foreperson, 826, criticized 589 for giving them a box of tissues. Number 6, the jury frequently discussed the case during breaks before deliberations. Oh no. So they're basically saying that the jurors are just deliberately not following the direction of Judge Newman. Man. All right. Number 7, towards the end of trial, Ms. Hill came into the jury room a lot. Number 8, Ms. Hill and the foreperson, juror 826, had private conversations on multiple occasions. The foreperson, juror 826, would tell the bailiff that she needed to speak with Ms. Hill. Ms. Hill would arrive, and then she and the foreperson, juror 826, would go into another room to have a private conversation. The conversations typically lasted 5 to 10 minutes, but we don't know what these conversations are about. It could be about something completely different. Maybe juror 826 has some personal issue and wanted to consult with Ms. Hill. We don't know, right? These are just private conversations. The foreperson, juror 826, never said anything about the content, okay, of the conversation. For example, she never communicated logistical information after these conversations. So they're saying that like, oh, you know, didn't communicate logistical information. But I mean, again, maybe juror 826 had like a personal issue that they had to discuss with the court clerk. Or maybe, you know, maybe there were some weird things happening behind the scene. This happened 2 or more times, more frequently towards the end of the trial. Number 9. When we began deliberations, Ms. Hill told that this shouldn't take us long and that if we deliberated past 11 p.m., we would be taken directly to a hotel. We had driven from our homes that morning and were not prepared to stay overnight. Additionally, smokers on the jury asked to be allowed to take smoke breaks, but were told that they were not to smoke until deliberations were complete. Number 10, I had questions about Mr. Murdaugh's guilt, but voted guilty because I felt pressured by the other jurors. Number 11, after the verdict and immediately before sentencing, Ms. Hill pressured the jury to speak as a group to reporters from a television show. That's crossed out. Okay, so let's say that, like, I don't know, if they felt like they were pressured to vote guilty by other juror members. I mean, juror 630, you're an adult, okay? If you're only going to vote guilty because you were pressured and you're going to have someone go to jail, you know, for the rest of their lives just because you felt pressured, I don't know, you're an adult. Like, you gotta figure it out. But anyways, all the other stuff that they're saying, allegedly, you know, it seems pretty weird. All right, what's next? Weird as in like not good for the jurors. All right, so as the defense began its case, Ms. Hill told jurors, y'all are going to hear things that will throw you all off. Don't let this distract you or mislead you. Affidavit of Holly Miller, juror, attached Exhibit B. All right, let's read Exhibit B. This is Exhibit B right here. Exhibit B, affidavit of Holly Miller. Personally appeared before me, Holly Miller, who was first duly sworn, deposed and states the following. On August 6, 2023, Dick Harpootlian, Jim, and I met with blank, juror 741. Oh, I think Holly Miller is the, I remember Harpootlian mentioned her name. That's like his paralegal. They met with juror 741 in the case of State of South Carolina versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh at her home located at da-da-da-da. At the meeting on August 6th, blank indicated that she would sign an affidavit. However, we were unable to arrange with her a suitable time and place. During the meeting, blank relayed the following information to us. Number 4, during the trial, she witnessed the Clerk of Court, Becky Hill, come to the jury room, and Ms. Hill and the foreperson, blank 826, went into the bathroom. Okay, so they went to the bathroom together. After Ms. Hill and the foreperson exited the bathroom, Ms. Hill told the jurors they could not ask the foreperson questions. Okay. I mean, that seems to make sense. Maybe the foreperson was like, hey, what should I do? The jurors are asking me questions, but I was told by Judge Newman not to communicate amongst each other. So, I mean, I could see that making sense, I guess. Number 5, several times during the trial, Ms. Hill told the jurors that the media would want to interview jurors at the end of the trial. And during one of these conversations, she passed out business cards from the media to the jurors. I wonder if that's allowed. It does sound kind of weird, but I don't know if it's one of those things where it's like, it's not, maybe it's like allowed and it's okay. I don't know. Seems weird. At the end of the trial, Ms. Hill told Blank that no one from the media wanted to interview her. Okay. Number 6, right before the defense put up their case, Ms. Hill told the jurors, y'all are going to hear things that will throw you all off. Don't let this distract you or mislead you. Number 7, Alex testified. 8 jurors indicated they did not believe his testimony. Redacted recalled redacted. Juror 544, known as Boston by many of the jurors, was very emotional during the trial. During the visit to Moselle, juror 826, so that's the foreperson, and redacted, walked to the scene together. And then juror 826, the foreperson, began walking with the clerk of court, Becky Hill. Number 10, there were times the jurors were not kept together, but were in 2 separate rooms. Redacted noticed jurors talking about the case before deliberations began. Then why didn't they tell the judge about this? Neither she nor Redacted, juror 785, joined in on the conversation about Alex. Number 11, as the jury was deliberating, she believes Judge Newman came to the room she was in and told the jury would have to spend, as the jury was deliberating, she believes Judge Newman came to the room she was in and told her the jury would have to spend the night at a hotel if they did not have a vote by a certain time, but she does not recall the time deadline. So maybe that was true. I don't know. I don't remember Judge Newman saying that because I feel like he would have said that in open court. Juror 741 was the former juror to provide information that the court of clerk made statements to members of the jury about the evidence presented during the trial prior to jury deliberations. Ms. Hill's conduct was corroborated by other jurors during subsequent interviews. Okay, so what I kind of find weird about this affidavit, so they're essentially having a paralegal say, hey, the paralegal met with Dick, Jim. We met with this juror 741, but I guess something happened and they were unable to arrange with her a suitable time and place for her to sign the affidavit. That to me is weird. And this was back in August 6th. It seems like maybe she doesn't want to be involved in this. I don't think it's just a convenience. I'm like, oh, I'm just so busy. I mean, maybe it's summertime. Maybe they went on vacation. They really didn't have time to meet. But I don't know. This affidavit, I don't know if I really care for it because it's just coming from, I don't know, it's coming from the paralegal. If it was an affidavit that came from the juror, I think to me would hold more credence. But okay, we'll keep reading. There might be some more affidavits coming out. Additionally, Ms. Hill and juror 826, the new jury foreperson, on multiple occasions went into another room to have a private conversation lasting 5 to 10 minutes. Again, we don't know what these conversations are about. The having to stay in a hotel is common knowledge. They don't finish deliberating at the end of the court time. Really? I thought they just go home and they'd come back the next day and just continue deliberating. Additionally, Ms. Hill and juror 826, had conversations. Sometimes they would go into the jury room single occupancy bathroom together. Oh, sometimes they would go into the jury room single occupancy. Oh, okay. So there's a bathroom made for one person. I mean, maybe they had a private conversation that they didn't want other people to hear. I mean, again, we don't know what's going on in these conversations. Four-person juror number 826 never said anything about the content of those conversations to the jurors. Ms. Hill even instructed jurors they could not ask four-person juror number 826 about the conversations. Okay. 2 days later, on Thursday, February 23rd, and continuing through the next day, Mr. Murdaugh testified in his own defense. Before he began his testimony, Ms. Hill told jurors not to be fooled by the evidence Mr. Murdaugh's attorneys presented, which at least one juror understood to mean that Mr. Murdaugh would lie when testified. Ms. Hill also instructed the jury to watch him closely and look at his actions and to look at his movements, which at least one juror understood to mean that Mr. Murdaugh was guilty. Immediately after Mr. Murdaugh testified, four-person juror number 826 told the jury that Mr. Murdaugh was crying on cue. She also criticized the former foreperson, juror number 589, for handing Mr. Murdaugh a box of tissues when he was crying in the stand because that is what the defense wants us to do. The next court day after Mr. Murdaugh's testimony, Monday, February 27, Ms. Hill told Judge Newman about a Facebook posting she purportedly saw on the evening of Friday, February 24, the day Mr. Murdaugh's testimony concluded. While perusing a Facebook group page called Walterboro Word of Mouth, draft transcript of in-camera conference, attached Exhibit C. Let's read Exhibit C really quick. Exhibit C. Okay. The court. Okay, well, let me see what Becky is talking about. I wanted to revisit the Facebook post that you mentioned yesterday. Ms. Hill. Right. So again, Ms. Hill is the court clerk. The court. That's Becky Hill, the clerk of court. Can you tell us about that Facebook post? Ms. Hill. Yes, I think it was Friday evening, just for a brief moment. I perused Facebook, got on Walterboro Word of Mouth, and saw where someone had said that, well, it was the ex-husband of a juror. And he said that he noticed that his ex-wife was saying that she was on the jury and saying stuff about how her verdict was going to be, and that he was the ex-husband, but she was known for talking way too much. And then I kept on scrolling because that was just enough for me. I've gotten enough. The court. And how did you determine who he was talking about? Ms. Hill. When I heard there was an email on Monday, I figured the two went together, if it was true. The court. Well, she's confirmed that she has an ex-husband who she has 3 restraining orders out against. So, Ms. Hill. Right. So then we looked on Monday after you told me to try to go back and look for it, and we couldn't find it. But then we found out his name, we found the post, and printed it out where he said that he had put something up, but that he had deleted the time that he put stuff out there that wasn't nice. The court. He said he got drunk afterwards. Mr. Meters. Something about the devil. Mr. Harpootlian. Didn't he say it was Satan in it? Ms. Hill. Satan was in it, yes. In all of the details, yes. The court. All right. Ms. Hill made me do it. The court. Okay. I just want to have that on the record. You're reading a Facebook post by the ex-husband who said it. Of course, you haven't talked with him, so you don't know where he got his information from. Ms. Hill. I don't. I can't find it, though. Mr. Fernandez. We do know his name for what it's worth. The court. Do you think he'll be sober? Ms. Hill. I don't know. Probably not if I had to guess. Mr. Harpootlian. It is Wednesday. Well, is today Tuesday or Wednesday? Harpootlian doesn't know which day it is. It's okay. Mr. Fernandez. Wednesday. Mr. Harpootlian. Well, it's Wednesday night, so now it's cut off. So this is the part that I did think was weird. If you were a juror member and you were perusing Facebook and you saw a post, maybe, as a juror member, you would just dismiss it because you're like, whatever, it's probably not important. But as someone who's a court clerk and you're overseeing this trial, and potentially there could have been a juror that was talking about this to someone else and talking about how the verdict was going to be, I don't see why you wouldn't screenshot it. We don't live in a day and age where screenshotting is hard. Screenshotting is very easy to do on your phone, on your iPad, maybe on your computer. You don't know how to do it, but I just don't see why she wouldn't have screenshotted this or why she wouldn't have went to Judge Newman right away. That to me is kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe things like this happen often. No, I feel like you would still screenshot it. I think it's so weird that she didn't screenshot it. So I think, yeah, that's kind of weird. All right, so the post purportedly by juror number 785. So I'm going to put down 785 here because I think 785 was the one that were they dismissed? 785, ex-husband post. The post reportedly by juror number 785, ex-husband Tim Stone, allegedly stated that his ex-wife was saying that she was on the jury and saying stuff about how her verdict was going to be. Judge Newman asked her to produce a copy of the posting. She could not produce a copy, but according to Ms. Hill, a subordinate employee in the clerk's office, Lori Weiss discovered that the post was taken down and replaced with an apology post. So Lori Weiss, if they said that they discovered the post was taken down and replaced with an apology post, I wonder if they assumed the original post was taken down because there was an apology post, Or did they actually see the original post, knew it was taken down, and it was replaced with an apology post? So it's going to be very interesting to hear what Lori Weiss is going to say about this. She could have assumed, based on the direction of Ms. Hill, that Rebecca Hill, that there was a post, but maybe she assumed it was taken down because there's an apology post there. Hello, hey, how's it going? Rebecca Hill, this is her book, by the way, Behind the Doors of Justice at 97, attached Exhibit D. Timothy Stone Facebook post, February 16th, attaches Exhibit E. The apology post states the initial post was already deleted on February 16th, so it would have been impossible for Ms. Hill to see the original post on February 24. Oh, because again, after Murdaugh testified, they had the weekend, and she said that she saw the post on Friday, I think. It was like the Friday after Murdaugh testified. But they're saying that the post says that, how come Murdaugh's attorneys didn't look into this? Maybe they didn't care? Why wouldn't they have looked into this to begin with? It's the exhibit. So this is her book right there. Murdaugh right there. Some people's. I'm going to scroll down to the Facebook post. Okay, so this is the Facebook post from Timothy Stone, February 16 at 8:35 a.m. Folks, I posted an ugly post yesterday to which I have deleted, and I kinda, in a roundabout way, directed it towards a certain person. And I would like to apologize to everyone who read it that ugly for me to do. And yes, I let Satan control me, and I broke down, I started drinking, and when I was drunk, I made that post, and I am sorry. Just some commenters saying, hold on, it's okay, your apology, da-da-da-da. So the posting makes sense. So they're saying that, this posting, maybe she made up that there was a post that existed, and then they found another post from another Tim Stone and try to say that, he apologized. But they're saying that, this apology doesn't make sense because the date doesn't line up with when they would have seen the original post. Oh, hello, Christoph. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining the membership. How are you doing today? Hello. I hope you're doing well. Exactly. They could have objected the time, I would think. They probably didn't want to look into it because maybe they didn't think it really mattered, or maybe they didn't have access to the original post. I don't know. Maybe things were happening so quickly that they're just like, whatever. Let's just get a new juror member. Who cares, right? But anyways, Mr. Stone, juror number 785, ex-husband, avers in a sworn statement that he made no such post. So let's look at Exhibit F. This is the affidavit of Tim Stone. I am the ex-husband of Redacted. Number 2, I did not post anything to the Facebook group Walter Borough Word of Mouth between January 23rd, 2023 and March 2nd, 2023. I did not post anything on the social media page or on my own Facebook social media page about Redacted being a juror, and that Redacted was talking way too much to friends and family about the case, or that Satan has gotten a hold of me and I've been drinking the time I posted and now was very sorry. Number 3, nor did I post what is attached to Exhibit A, which has been represented to me to be an alleged post to the Walter Borough Word of Mouth Facebook page and a court exhibit in the state of South Carolina versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh. We saw the Facebook post. In Facebook posts, they have the date, and maybe sometimes they have the time. I don't know if they still have the time anymore. I don't really use Facebook anymore, but they certainly do have the date. I just don't see why no one caught that. Hey, look at this date right here. This date doesn't align. There's an apology post, but maybe they just looked at it really quickly and they didn't really pay attention. Hello, Christoph and Zelenka. Thank you so much for the membership. Welcome. Enjoy your emails. Number 5, I was never contacted by law enforcement. So this part is going to be interesting. It'll mention it in the motion. I was never contacted by law enforcement, the South Carolina Attorney General's office, the Clerk of Court, Becky Hill, or anyone at Colleton County Clerks of Court's office about Exhibit A or the post of the Walter Borough Word of Mouth Facebook page concerning my ex-wife, Redacted. Number 6, I did not know Redacted was on the Murdaugh jury until I heard her voice in a recording when she was being excused as a juror and she was discussing something about eggs. So again, it says there is a time, February 16 at 8:35 a.m. I don't know how no one caught this unless they briefly mentioned the post, never screenshotted it and showed it to anyone or the judge, or if it was shown, maybe the date was redacted. It clearly has the time and the date right there, but anyways, okay. Mr. Murdaugh has obtained an authentic download of the entirety of Mr. Stone's Facebook activity from January 23rd, 2023 to March 2nd, 2023, which confirms he did not post the apology. So, authentic download. I wonder if this is something that, like, you know, users can delete or, you know, kind of manipulate, I guess. Or is this something that's on Facebook's end where they have an entire copy of an activity and users can't manipulate it in any way? I'm not really quite sure. They'll have to get the expert to testify, right? From January 23rd, 2023 to March 2nd, 2023, which confirms he did not post the apology. The supposed original post, if deleted, would not be recoverable at this point under Facebook's retention policies. Okay, so it can't be recovered, but would it still show that there was activity on that certain date? That's what I want to know. And that he, in fact, never posted anything to the Walterboro Word of Mouth Facebook page during the trial. The affidavit of Philip Barber. So Philip Barber is one of the attorneys for Alex Murdaugh. Mr. Barber. Okay. Barber says, I am an attorney in the firm of Richard A. Harpootlian and counsel for record for defendant Richard Alexander Murdaugh. Number 2, on August 18, 2023, I met with Tim Stone at his house. He provided his Facebook login information and allowed me to download a copy of his Facebook activity from January 23rd to March 2nd. I have a hard time believing that a person would just be okay with this. A person that's not involved with the trial, like I mentioned earlier, a person that's estranged from his ex-wife. Apparently, per Judge Newman, she has like 3 restraining orders against him. I just have a hard time believing that he would allow them to download all the Facebook information activity and it's nothing to do with this. But, you know, maybe he's a nice guy and maybe he wants to just be helpful. Maybe he doesn't care. You know, maybe he's like one of those people who are like, oh, I don't really care about the privacy shit. Like, go ahead. Download whatever you want. I don't care. I don't know. I just don't see how they were able to get him to agree to this. But anyways, they did. Number 3, a true copy of the download is attached at Exhibit A. Oh, it's going to be somewhere around here somewhere. The contents of the download speak for themselves. Review of them show no post was made on February 16, 2023. Apologizing for the previous post. There are no posts whatsoever to the Facebook group Walterboro Word of Mouth. Number 5, Facebook's stated retention policy for deleted posts is 30 days. So any post deleted in the period, January 23rd, 2023, March 2nd, 2023, would not be recoverable. Is that Exhibit A? Let's see. What is Exhibit A? Do they have the downloads? I don't think so. It's just a Facebook post thing, right? Yeah, it's just a Facebook post thing. I don't see it. Okay. We'll come back to it. Mr. Barber. Okay, so far, this seems, I don't know, it seems okay. It seems okay. We have one juror, but, you know, maybe they were pissed off that they were kicked off and, you know, maybe they didn't like the fact that, you know, they thought something weird was going on with the court clerk and they found out that they were kicked off because the ex-husband thing. And then she found out that the whole thing not to be true. So maybe she's pissed off. But the fact that they were able to get the ex-husband to, you know, come involved in this as well. I mean, okay, we'll see. So far we have one juror. Another juror did, you know, corroborate her story, but we don't have that sworn affidavit from that juror. We have a sworn affidavit from Harpootlian's paralegal saying that she spoke to them. But yeah, I don't know. So far we have one juror. I'm just going to stick with the one juror. Let's see. Juror number 785. So this is the egg juror. Sorry, I'm going to write husband posts egg juror. Okay. Egg juror. Oh, do we have an affidavit actually from juror 785? Oh, we don't. Because we have an affidavit from juror 630 who is not related to 785. Sorry, I retract some of the statements that I just made a couple minutes ago. Okay, hold on. They're different jurors. Sorry, I got it mixed up for a second there. Okay, so she told juror number 785 that someone had emailed her. So again, this is the court clerk. Apparently, court clerk told juror 785 that someone emailed her stating that her ex-husband, Tim Stone, posted on the Walterboro Word of Mouth Facebook page. Oh, so now we're getting different things. So she told Judge Newman that she saw it, But now, apparently, she told the juror that someone emailed it to her and not that she saw it. So we're getting two different versions. She told juror number 785 that someone emailed her stating that her ex-husband, Tim Stone, posted on the Walter Borough Word of Mouth Facebook page that juror number 785 had been drinking with her ex-husband, and that while drunk, she expressed opinions on the guilt or innocence of Mr. Murdaugh. Exhibit H. Juror number 785 told Ms. Hill that never happened and that she had not seen her ex-husband in 10 years. Okay, so let's read her affidavit. So this is the egg juror, 785. I was juror 785 in the case of State of South Carolina versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, tried in Colleton County, South Carolina. Number 2, during the presentation of the defense case after President's Day, but before Mr. Murdaugh testified in his own defense, Colleton County Clerk of Court Rebecca Hill told the jurors to not be fooled by the evidence presented to the juror by the Murdaugh's attorneys. So again, this is going to corroborate with juror 630's affidavit. Number 3, in late February 2023, Ms. Hill questioned me about a Facebook post on the Walter Borough Word of Mouth. She summoned me to speak about with her alone in an office of the courtroom. She told me someone emailed her about a post about my ex-husband, Tim Stone, purportedly made, which purportedly stated that I made comments to him about the guilt or innocence of Mr. Murdaugh. She directly asked me whether I was inclined to vote guilty or not guilty. I told her I had not made up my mind and that I wanted to hear all the evidence before deciding. Again, this is going to be Judge Newman's comment about how he wasn't happy that a person of the court interrogated a juror and he wasn't there. Number 4, Ms. Hill said in the post that I'd been drinking with my ex-husband and that while drunk with him, I expressed opinions on the guilt or innocence of Mr. Murdaugh. That never happened. And I told Ms. Hill it never happened. I did not go drinking with my ex-husband. In fact, I have not seen him in approximately 10 years. Number 5, I asked to see the post, but Ms. Hill would not or could not show it to me. I have never seen it, and to my knowledge, no one has. Number 6, later that day, Ms. Hill told me SLED and Colleton County Sheriff's Office personnel went to my ex-husband's house, and he purportedly confirmed he made the post. I mean, this is a lot of information that Rebecca Hill would have to have on this person and her ex-husband and the fact that they're estranged. I mean, are they accusing her of going through like court records and like going through the court records of each juror member maybe? And maybe she found out that, hey, this woman here has a restraining order against her ex-husband. Like maybe I can make up a lie. Like that's a lot of scheming behind the scenes. I don't know if I believe it, but I mean, I guess it could be true, but I'm just saying that's a lot of work. She would have to know that the ex-husband and her are not on speaking terms. She would have to know that they, probably wouldn't communicate to each other because, maybe she found out they had a restraining order and that she wouldn't be inclined to communicate with her ex-husband about this Facebook post. I don't know. That's a lot of scheming, but maybe it's possible. She told me that she would reinstate she told me that she would reinstate a restraining order I previously had against my ex-husband. So I wonder if she knew about this restraining order or did the juror tell her about the restraining order? I don't know. We have a lot of information that's missing. Number 7, I did not know about the apology post referencing Satan until Ms. Hill's book was published. I have since reviewed that post and can definitely state the post is not by my ex-husband. He does not go by Timothy. The profile picture is not him. The phrasing of the post is not phrasing he would use. It appears to be a post by another person who happens to have the same name. It does not appear to be a post to the Walter Borough Word of Mouth Facebook page. I don't know. That's just like too much scheming because there was a person who made a post, Tim Stone, but maybe she didn't know about the apology post until way afterwards, where someone on her team was like, hey, there is a Tim Stone apology post. Maybe this is the post you saw. And she's like, oh, yeah, that's probably it. I don't know. There's a lot of, I don't know. This is messy. Number 8, when Miss Hill first asked me if the Facebook post purportedly made by my ex-husband, I showed her a picture of my ex-husband. For that reason, I now believe she already knew that the apology post referencing Satan was not posted by my ex-husband. So I wonder if the picture that she showed versus the Facebook profile looks very different, or maybe there was some resemblance and maybe Ms. Hill was just like, oh yeah, maybe it's the same person. I don't know. On March 2nd, 2023, the day of the verdict, I received a call from my ex-husband, Tim Stone, as I was getting on the bus to travel with the rest of the jurors to the courthouse. I did not answer. This phone call upset me greatly. I asked to speak with the clerk of court, which I did by telephone using bailiff Mr. Bill's phone. I told her I was scared. She said that the Murdaughs probably got to him. The bailiff said that? Number 10. Ms. Hill then again asked me questions about my opinion regarding Mr. Murdaugh's guilt. She asked if I was leaning one way or the other. I told her that Creighton Waters' closing was good, but I still had questions. She asked me what kind of questions, and I replied questions about the guns. She asked what will make me think he's innocent. I stated that no murder weapon was found. Okay. She then asked, well, what makes you think he's guilty? I said Paul's video at the dog kennels. She then stated that everything Mr. Murdaugh has said has been lies and that I should forget about the guns. They will never be seen again. Jesus. Number 11. So again, this is not just like, oh, maybe it's a miscommunication. Maybe she made a statement and maybe it could be interpreted wrong. Like, this is just explicitly saying things to the juror that you're not allowed to, if this was true. Number 11, Ms. Hill then asked about the views of the rest of the jury. She told me the four-person would just go in and ask for a raise of hands. This would be over and done with. She said everyone needs to be on the same page. She then again said that she would reinstate a restraining order I previously had against my ex-husband, and that she would call Judge Newman about the restraining order. I don't know if there's anything wrong with this part, I guess. Everyone needs to be on the same page. I mean, that makes sense. They do need to be on the same page. And then she's willing to reinstate this restraining order. I mean, okay. Number 12. I then went to the jury room. Approximately 10 minutes later, I was excused from the jury. During the proceedings, I asked Judge Newman if he had spoke with the clerk of court. He said, not yet because of your ex-husband. 2 weeks later, I did answer a call from my ex-husband. I angrily confronted him about the post he's purportedly made because I knew I had not made the comments he claimed I made. He emphatically denied ever making any such Facebook post and genuinely seemed not to know what I was talking about. Number 14. On one day during my jury service, approximately 1 or 2 weeks before the verdict, redacted juror 864 and redacted juror 826, so 826 the four-person, were in a single toilet unisex bathroom together for an extended period. They were known to do so frequently to discuss the case. Why didn't you report this to the judge then, if you think it's true? Why not say anything to the judge? Okay. Anyways, redacted juror 729 referred to as A and D time. In the van going to the courthouse, redacted juror 864 said Special Agent David Owen lied on the stand, but that nothing would happen to him. Number 16, when we visit the Moselle crime scene, Ms. Hill and redacted juror 826 walked off together, avoiding other jurors in order to have a private conversation. Number 17, I mean, these private conversations thing, we don't know, again, what happened in these private conversations. Like, it could be something weird, but I mean, we don't really know, you know? It's just all kind of like, they're just guessing at some point. Hey, Rain, how are you doing today? Well, Murdaugh is asking for a new trial. Lori Vallow, I mean, it makes sense that they're going to try to appeal. It seems to be the normal course of, normal thing to do when you're found guilty of something. Like, let's try to appeal the case and see what happens, right? Number 17, I own a rental property which is leased to two tenants, Deborah Webb and Clifford Dandridge. On Saturday, February 18, I delivered a refrigerator to the property. What does this have to do with anything? February 18. Is this after Murdaugh testified? What does that have to do with anything? Number 18, I was removed from jury the day of the verdict. Oh, is it because she's trying to say in February 18 she was busy and she wasn't talking to her ex-husband about the trial, I guess, maybe? Number 18, I was removed from the jury the day of the verdict because a coworker of Miss Webb purportedly said I expressed an opinion on Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocence while delivering the refrigerator. Miss Webb then worked at Domino's Pizza in Walterboro, so the coworker would be some of the employees of Domino's Pizza in Walterboro. I do not know whether Miss Webb actually made any such statement at Domino's Pizza or whether a coworker actually heard any such statement. Oh, is this what Judge Newman... I'm so confused. What did Judge Newman remove this juror of? Both of these things? The Facebook post and the comment for the Domino's Pizza thing? Or my God, there's so much more. Number 19. After I was dismissed from the jury, I spoke with Mr. Webb and Mr. Dandridge, who both vehemently stated to me and my husband that the affidavits the prosecution drafted for their signature was not what they said to him. They told me Sled showed up at their home at 10 p.m. after they were asleep, removed them from home, put them in separate cars, and questioned them. Mr. Dandridge said that he told them I did not say anything on Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocence. Sled returned 30 minutes later again, woke them from their beds, served subpoenas on them to appear in the court the next day. Then, oh my God, I'm so confused. There's just so much going on. Number 20. They arrived at the courthouse at 9 a.m. the next day and were held for 9 hours until 6 p.m. when Sled officers or prosecutors finally presented typed affidavits to them, saying that it was their statement from the previous night they'd been recorded by the dash cams in the patrol car. They said they signed the affidavits without reading them. Why would they do that? Please don't be signing things like that without reading it. Oh my God. Okay. I don't know if I buy that, but okay. As I previously testified, I never discussed the merits of the Murdaugh case with Ms. Webb, Mr. Dandridge, or any other person present, nor did I express an opinion on Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocence while delivering the refrigerator or during any other interaction within them during the trial. I don't understand how the Domino's Pizza employees would get all the way to Sled and the prosecutor. I don't know. That's like, unless Sled had ordered Domino's Pizza that day and then the Domino's Pizza person was like, hey, by the way, someone delivered a refrigerator and talked about the Murdaugh. I'm just confused where the connection is between that. Oh my God. Okay. Anyways. Okay. Juror number 785. Okay, so later that day, Ms. Hill told juror number 785 that Sled and Colleton County Sheriff's Office personnel went to Mr. Stone's house. He confirmed he made the post. This is a fabrication by Ms. Hill. Ms. Hill told juror number 785 she would somehow reinstate a restraining order juror number 785 previously had against Mr. Stone, which is something Ms. Hill did not have the authority to do. Still, later that day, Judge Newman examined juror number 785 regarding both the non-existent Facebook post and the tenant/coworker email in camera. The email. Do we have a copy of that email? There's a transcript in exhibit I. Okay, let's read the transcript. Transcript. Okay. Got the transcripts. Juror, no. The court, have you put anything on Facebook? Juror, not regarding the case. I put a positive post on. I gave Miss Becky my full access to my Facebook. I put positive posts on. I've done that for the past 3 years. But the court, has anyone posted anything on Facebook about you? And juror, I wasn't aware of it until Miss Becky told me today. The court, what did she tell me? What did she tell me? I think I'm going to say, what did she tell you? Juror, she asked me if I had an ex-husband and I said, yeah. She asked me if I had talked to him about the case or being on jury duty. And I said, no. I questioned her why she was asking me that. I haven't seen my ex-husband since 2014. The court, does he live in the area? Juror, he does now. He lives in Cottageville. The court, okay. Juror, and I have 3 restraining orders against him. Warning, the court, so he's basically up to no good. Juror, I wouldn't say that. I'd say a lot worse, but that's a nice way to put it. The court, okay. Juror, but she told me that. I was very upset after she told me that. Like I said, I have 3 restraining orders against him. I wouldn't have anything to do with him if I didn't have a child with him, but I haven't seen him since 2014 when we got a divorce. I have talked to him within the last year because I got a call at work that my son was in jail and needed a ride home. And I did call his father and asked him to go get him, which he did not do. But other than that, I have not seen him, talked to him, or anything else since 2014, other than getting restraining orders in Colleton County, one in Orangeburg County, and I have one in Berkeley County. The court, wow. Juror, but Miss Becky said that she went to look for the post again and that it has been deleted. I don't know who she talked to or anything else, but she said apparently. The court, when did she tell you that? Juror, it was after you let us go on the last break. I was very upset. She came down and talked to me and said that apparently, I don't know who talked to him, but said that he was drunk and he removed the post. The court, so has she discussed the case with any of the juror? Has the clerk discussed anything about the case with anyone on that jury? Juror, not that I'm aware of. But in the affidavit, she's saying that the court clerk is, Right? Judge Newman is explicitly asking her, hey, is she discussing the case to any other juror? Hold on a second. Was it the other people? After President's Day, but before Murdaugh testified, Rebecca Hill told the jurors not to be fooled by the evidence. So she's the one who said this. Why didn't she tell Judge Newman about that when Judge Newman asked her about it? He explicitly asked her. Okay, about the husband. Husband. This is about the post. Something about Satan. Read that. The day of the verdict, I receive a call. Let's see. Like, this is her opportunity to say that, like, hey, the bailiff also said that maybe Murdaugh got to my ex-husband. She could have mentioned that to the judge. Miss Hill asked me questions about my opinion regarding Mr. Murdaugh's guilt. She asked if I was leaning one way or the other. I told her, I mean, that's another conversation too. I think all this happened before Judge Newman talked to her and dismissed her. Why didn't she tell this to Judge Newman? Ms. Hill then asked about the views of the rest of the jury. She told me the foreperson would just go in and raise their hands. It would be over with. Everyone needs to be on the same page. Da, da, da. I then went to the jury room. Approximately 10 minutes later, I was excused from the jury. During the proceedings, I asked Judge Newman if he had spoken with the clerk of the court. He said, this is not because your ex-husband. Wait, what was the date of... what the fuck? Oh my God. Is she lying? Is she confused? What's the date of this transcript? Oh, this is February 28. February 28. February 28. Hold on. Maybe this was before? Oh my God. I need a... February 28. President's Day. Yeah. What did Murdaugh... Hold on a second. President's Day. February 19. I don't know if I believe her. Is she confused? Yeah, I don't know if I believe her. I don't know. We have a transcript of Judge Newman specifically asking. So, has she discussed the case with any of the jurors? Has the clerk discussed anything about the case with anyone on that jury? And she said at the time, not that I'm aware of. Okay, hold on. Maybe she'll get to it. The court says, okay, she was just discussing with, she gets cut off, juror. She pulled me aside, and when we went downstairs after the last break, I went to say it was after lunch, we came back. That's when she first told me about it. And then we went back into the court. I was kind of screening the audience to make sure that my ex wasn't out there. And she came downstairs after the break and told me that she had found out that he was drunk and made a drunk pose. I don't know what happened from there. I have no clue. The court. And you work at the... Juror, I work at the monkey farm. The court. Monkey farm. What do you do there? Juror, I work in the lab. For the lab. All I do is watch monkeys. It's a testing facility where they try and come up with cures like AIDS, cancer, and leukemia. The court. You're happy to be here, away from monkeys for a while? Juror, yeah, I miss my monkeys. The court. Are they pretty smart as everyone says? Okay, what is going on with this conversation? Juror, they're very intelligent. They hurt and bleed, and have feelings just like you and I do. They do. The court. Okay, at this point in time, have you made up your mind as to guilt or innocence, though? Juror, I haven't. I was trying to wait on closing arguments because they are usually pretty good. All right. The court. You've been on jury duty before? Sure, I was, but it kind of really sucked because they called us back and we were, anticipating it was my first jury. They made up an agreement and we never got to sit on the jury. The court. Okay, any questions either for anyone to ask? Mr. Griffin. No, Your Honor. Mr. Waters. No, Your Honor. The court says, okay, if you will stand right there. Juror, follow her. The court, follow her for a second. Gabby just right outside the door, but not all the way out. That was her chance right there. So she's saying in the affidavits that, oh, the court clerk has been talking to the jury, has been making comments. But here we have Judge Newman specifically asking, hey, has she been talking to any of the jurors about the case? And she says, not that I know of. I just don't know if she's going to be reliable. If they're going to see her as a reliable witness. Not good. All right, keep reading. Juror number 785 described her interaction with Ms. Hill regarding the Facebook post. She denied making any appropriate comments about the case to third parties and stated that she wanted to hear closing arguments before forming an opinion on Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocence. Okay. After she was dismissed, Judge Newman said, "Oh boy, I'm not too pleased about the clerk interrogating a juror as opposed to coming to me and bringing it to me. He was right to be concerned." Is there more? This is Exhibit J. Where does it say that? Exhibit I? I don't remember Judge Newman saying that in here. Oh, he did. Sorry. A name, Clifford Dandridge, B Street. "Oh boy, I'm not too pleased about the clerk interrogating a juror as opposed to coming to me and bringing it to me." Oh, was this in closed doors? Because I feel like I remember Judge Newman saying this, and I was very confused what he was talking about. Mr. Griffin, I was surprised to hear that. The court, yeah, the court. So, the next day on March 1st, 2023, the jury visited Moselle, the site of the murders. During the visit, four-person juror numbered 826 and Ms. Hill walked out to have yet another private conversation. In her book, Ms. Hill more vaguely hints at communicating her opinion on Mr. Murdaugh's guilt to the jury during the visit to the Moselle property. In the excerpt, while the jurors viewed the Moselle property, we could all hear and see Alex's story was impossible. Some of us, either from the courthouse, law enforcement, or jury at Moselle, had an epiphany and shared our thoughts with our eyes. Okay. At that moment, many of us were standing there, and I knew and they knew that Alex was guilty. I don't think that really vaguely hinting communication. I mean, like, I don't know if I really agree with that, but okay. That day, Judge Newman also held an in-camera conference regarding the tenant/coworker email in which he decided to revisit the Facebook post issue with Ms. Hill. The court. Okay, well, let me see what Becky's talking about. I wanted to revisit the Facebook post that you mentioned yesterday. This exhibit, no, I don't think we have this. Ms. Hill, right. The court, that's Becky Hill. The court of clerk. Can you tell us about the Facebook post? Ms. Hill, yes, I think it was Friday evening, just for a brief moment. I perused the Facebook, got on Walter Borough, word of mouth. Oh, we already read this. Why are we reading this again? Yeah, we read this already. Okay, they're just repeating it, I guess. Miss Hill said that she never saw any such Facebook post. She made it up. Further, she knew that the apology post was... Wait, what? Oh, is this in her book? Ah! Miss Hill said that she never... What the... Miss Hill never saw any Facebook posts. Oh, okay. She made it up. Okay, these are accusations. I thought she admitted to not seeing it. Okay. Further, she knew the apology post was not posted by juror number 785's ex-husband. Juror number 785 showed Miss Hill a picture of her ex-husband, which is not the Facebook profile picture of the other Mr. Stone post about Satan. When I first heard about this, I was like, maybe this is some bullshit. And then I quickly read it. I was like, oh, this is kind of like some crazy accusations. But now that I'm really reading it, I'm like, okay. So far we have juror 630 who signed an affidavit. Okay. And then we have another juror, 785, but I don't know if I find 785 to be credible anymore, because she told Judge Newman one thing, but then on the affidavit, she's saying oh my God, all those things happened behind the scene. I don't know. If Murdaugh never lied about being at the kennels, if he never lied about how long he was at his mom's house, what else was there? Oh, was there anything else that he lied about? If he didn't lie about those two, do you think it's possible that people would have been like, oh, you know what? Maybe potentially he's not guilty. If he was being forthcoming about everything. If he said oh, I went to the kennels, but then what was the story again? He went to the kennels and afterwards he went back to the house. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to remember. I feel like next time when I cover these trials, I need to write key important facts. So I'm not relying on my memory months later when I'm recalling it, Posted article on True Crime. Oh, cool. I'll read it. Thank you. Because I feel like what really destroyed Murdaugh was himself. Kind of like AH when she went up on the stand. She destroyed herself. Not at all. The prosecutor did a great job bringing how evil he was. But with the fraud, though, yes, I agree with the fraud. Yeah, I don't know. I got to revisit. This is going to be a shower thought. I'm going to sit in my shower and just think about this. Trying to think. Yeah, they did a good job with the fraud stuff. And, he for sure admitted to it. But, oh man, I'm just trying to think. If he didn't lie about everything, is it possible that people would be like, maybe he didn't do it? I'm just trying to think. I'll come back to you guys on that one. I'll have to think about that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I am very curious. The next day, March 2nd, 2023, the day of the verdict, juror number 785 received a call from her ex-husband that she did not answer. The call upset her because Ms. Hill's lies had led her to believe he was posting on Facebook about her and might be stalking her. Juror number 785 asked to speak with Ms. Hill. She told Ms. Hill that she was scared. Ms. Hill told her that a Murdaugh's probably got to him. If you guys are just joining us and you're very confused about what's going on right now, Murdaugh's attorney held a press conference earlier. They want the FBI to investigate this. They don't want SLED to be involved, but they are essentially accusing the court clerk, that's hard to say for me, the court clerk of impropriety, basically jury tampering behind the scenes. And, they have these juror affidavits that are backing that up. So far, we went through one juror affidavit. Now we're going through the second juror affidavit. The second one, I just don't know. I just don't know about that one because she's saying in her affidavit that the court clerk made a lot of comments basically discussing the case and, made some comments about Murdaugh and stuff like that. But then Judge Newman specifically asked her, like, hey, has she been discussing the case, you guys? And she was like, not that I know of. So I don't know if I find her credible right now. Probably not. But we'll see if there's any other information. So essentially, we're just going through the motion that Murdaugh's attorneys filed this morning. They essentially want the appeal to be on hold right now, and they're asking the Attorney General. Is that what they're called? They're asking the Attorney General, I think so. United States Attorney for District, whatever. Yeah, Attorney General maybe. For to investigate this, and then hoping that the appellate judges will hold a evidentiary hearing to see if there was some misconduct in behind the scenes from the court clerk. And they're saying that the reason why she did all this behind the scenes is because that she was working on her book and she wants this trial to not end in a mistrial. She wants her book to go out. She wants to make money from it, and that's what they're basically accusing her of. But I don't know. Right now, I'm like, okay, I don't know. There's some weird stuff on both sides. Like for me, we have a transcript of her saying that she saw a weird Facebook post about potentially a juror talking to her ex-husband about the case, and that saying that Murdaugh is guilty or whatever. But to me, I find it really weird that she wouldn't screenshot it. It's so easy to screenshot things nowadays. She said that she just kept scrolling because she didn't want to read any more of it or something. But I feel like you would have screenshotted it and you would have reported it to the judge, and you're kind of like, if you're, I don't know, you kind of know that stuff like this is really important to report to Judge Newman. So I don't know if I buy her argument either. I don't know. Yikes. You would still have to believe someone came to kill. Oh, and they didn't bring their own guns. True, Christine. Very, very true. Very true. Yeah. Because I just wonder if, because a lot of the stuff that SLED went over was basically just unraveling all of his lies. Yeah. And I wonder, if he just didn't lie from the very start, lying about not being at the kennels, I guess, lying about how long he was at his mom's house. I don't know, stuff like that. I wonder if that would be able to sway some of the juror members into believing that he was not guilty. But yeah, I mean, I think SLED did a really good job. I think the state did a really good job at presenting their case and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe there was some weird fuckery going with SLED, but I don't know. But I still think the state did a really good job presenting their case, and I think they did a good job at destroying him. But yeah, anyways. Ms. Hill once again asked her opinion regarding Mr. Murdaugh's guilt. Juror number 785 told her that Creighton's Waters closing was good, but she still had questions. Ms. Hill asked what questions, and juror number 785 replied that she was concerned that no murder weapon was found. Ms. Hill then asked, well, what makes you think he's guilty? Juror number 785 said Paul's video at the dog kennels. Ms. Hill then told juror number 785 that everything Mr. Murdaugh has said has been lies and that I should forget about the guns and they will never be seen again. So again, that's something that you really shouldn't be communicating with the juror. Ms. Hill then asked juror number 785 about the views of the rest of the jury, telling her that if a four-person would just go in and ask for a raise of hands, this would be over and done with and everyone needs to be on the same page. Juror number 785 went to the jury room. 10 minutes later, was excused from the jury. In open court, immediately after her excusal, juror number 785 asked Judge Newman if he had spoke with the clerk of court, referring to the conversation earlier that morning with Ms. Hill. Video of trial proceedings, March 2nd, 2023, available on YouTube. Judge Newman responded, I have not spoken with her today, and that this is totally independent of any conversation regarding her ex-husband, apparently misunderstanding her question to refer to the issue of the Facebook post. Oh, okay. So I remember, I think this was the live portion then. So I think she just wants to know, like, hey, did you talk to your court clerk? And then Judge Newman probably just thought, like, oh, this is about, she's asking about the Facebook page. When really that's not what she was referring to. I know that's what they think happened. When the jury began deliberations that evening, Ms. Hill told them that this shouldn't take us long and that if they delivered past 11 p.m., they would be taken directly to a hotel, even though none was prepared to stay overnight. Additionally, smokers in the jury were asked to be allowed to take smoke breaks as they had previously been allowed to do during 6 weeks of trial, but Ms. Hill told them they could not smoke until deliberations were complete. Again, this is going to be the let's see, referring to the first and second affidavit, right? I think so. But the second affidavit from the juror, it's not even the juror that signed it. It's Harpootlian's paralegal who said that, like, hey, this person was supposed to sign this and they didn't get a chance to because they were too busy. So I'm just going to say that they did say all this, but I don't know. I'd rather have the signed affidavit for the actual juror. There were 6 smokers on the jury. Ms. Hill told jurors that after the trial, they would be famous and predicted that the media would request interviews with them. So I don't know. The smoking thing is kind of weird, but maybe at some point, maybe they were taking way too many smoke breaks. Maybe they were taking way too long. Maybe some of the juror members who weren't smokers were like, hey, like these guys keep going out for smoke breaks. Like, let's just like deliberate this because they're taking up a lot of time smoking. I don't know. We don't know what happened, right? So it does sound weird that, maybe the court clerk was like, hey, no smoking. Okay. You guys need to deliberate. All right. I mean, that could sound weird, but we don't know what really happened. It's possible that maybe some of the juror members were complaining that these smokers were taking too many breaks or something like that. I don't know. Ms. Hill told jurors that after the trial, they would be famous and predicted that the media would request interviews from them. Ms. Hill even handed out reporters business cards to jurors during the trial. Yeah, that sounds kind of weird. Juror number 578 took this to heart and made an appearance on Good Morning America the night of the verdict, which is why on the day the jury began deliberations, he wore a suit coat for the first time during the trial. Well, I think I remember, was it Chanley Painter? I think Chanley Painter made a comment about this on how for jury deliberations, I think a lot of them were actually dressed up pretty nicely because they probably anticipated maybe giving a interview about the verdict. I don't know if that's a big deal or not though, but because I think it wasn't just juror number 578 that did this. I think it was like a lot of other people that were pointed out to be like, hey, you guys are actually starting to dress really nice. Possibly maybe doing an interview. After the verdict, immediately before sentencing, Ms. Hill pressured the jury to speak as a group to reporters from a network news show. I don't see what she would gain from this. She traveled with jurors to New York City when they appeared on the Today Show. Yeah, that just sounds kind of weird, but I don't know if there's anything wrong with that, but it does sound weird. She got her book deal. Her book, Behind the Doors of Justice, was released on August 1, 2023. Again, someone during the press conference with Harpootlian and Jim, someone was asking like, hey, like, you guys know this is like self-published, right? Like, it's not like she got a book deal. I don't think they said it verbatim, but they essentially said that she like self-published. She self-published it. So I don't think that meant that she got a book deal. She published it herself. A last point about Ms. Hill's effort to promote her book shows her dishonest efforts to profit from the trial continued well after the verdict. A film crew negotiated a contract with the Colleton County Sheriff's Department to use courtroom bailiffs to provide security while they film a documentary about the Colleton County Courthouse when it was closed for Confederate Memorial Day on May 10, 2023. The film crew had previously recorded an interview with Ms. Hill. On May 9, Ms. Hill sent a memorandum to the film crew purporting to be an addendum on the contract. Memorandum for Rebecca Hill, May 9, 2023, attached Exhibit K. Okay, so we have Exhibit J. This is Exhibit K. Personally appeared before me, Holly Miller. Again, that's Harpootlian's paralegal, I believe. On August 6, 2023, Dick, Jim, and I met with Redacted. Is this a different one? J. I'm surprised to hear that. J. No, I think I already read this one, right? K. Oh, no. This is a different one? met with juror number 326 in the case of South Carolina versus Murdaugh and his mother at her funeral home. At her home, at his mother at her home. So this is another juror. Juror number 326. Okay. But again, why didn't this juror 326 sign the affidavit? During the meeting, juror 326 relayed the following information to us. Juror 326 was asked if Ms. Holly told the jurors not to let the defense mislead them. He did not specifically recall the statement, but did recall that Ms. Hill commented to him and other jurors about the photos that would be admitted to evidence, indicating that the images would be disturbing. I don't know if that's a big deal. I mean, don't they usually kind of like give them a heads up, like, hey, you know, you guys are going to see some disturbing stuff, just to give them a heads up, because there's probably going to be blood, there's probably going to be some gore, there's probably going to be some, maybe, I don't know, organ pieces and stuff like that. I don't know if that's a big deal. Is that a big deal? Juror 326 also stated that jurors were stationed in 2 separate rooms when they were not in the courtroom, and that he was not in the room with mostly other male juror. Oh, he was in the room with other male jurors. He was not sure, and he was not in the same room as jurors 630, 741, 785. So again, I think this is what Jim meant in the press conference when he said that the jurors were separated into 2 rooms, male and female. And I think they're saying that like a lot of the stuff happened in the other room with the females because the court clerk is also a woman as well. So maybe they're saying that like, oh, I didn't get to see many things happening because all this stuff probably happened in the other room and I wasn't present in that. But I don't know. Juror 326 stated that Ms. Hill would visit the other room more often and that he could not hear what she was telling the jurors in the other room. Okay, so not really anything going on here. Number 5, during the trial, juror 326 and other discussed the case prior to deliberation. He did not discuss the case with anyone outside the jurors. He further commented that some of the jurors were going in the office because of financial reasons, that people were talking to coworkers because coworkers wanted information. People were talking to coworkers because coworkers want information. We don't know what that really means, though. Number 6, before deliberations began, juror 326 indicated that a minor conversation led him to know that who was a yes and who was a no. His vote changed with new evidence. Wait, before deliberations, juror 326 indicated with minor conversation led him to know who was a yes and who was a no? Number 7, as the jury was deliberating, the bailiff and Ms. Hill told the jurors that they could not take a smoke break during the deliberations. There were 6 smokers in the jury. Number 8, after the trial concluded, the group chat was formed with the jurors, but juror 326 dropped off the group because there was too many chats. Number 9, when asked if he thought of the clerk of court, Becky Hill was inserting herself in the process of the trial, jury 326 responded, I can see this. Okay, but that's not him saying yes. He's just saying, oh, I mean, I could see this, sure. I don't know. This is not a signed affidavit from the actual juror, though. So, I don't know. This is just, I don't know. It's better to have a signed affidavit from the actual juror. But, yeah, I don't know. I actually never really heard Memorial Day be referred as that. If only he hadn't taken the chicken from Bubba, he still would have been free. Okay, so this is from Rebecca Hill from The Clerk, and this is to DreamWorks, aka Texas Crew Productions. Dear Redacted, and this is on May 9th, so about almost 2 months after the verdict. I'm looking forward to your upcoming docuseries on the Murdaugh case, and I hope you'll be able to use some of my interviews should you choose to. Because I'm an elected official, we'll need to modify 3 clauses in the location agreement you presented me as it relates to my authority. Please change the word owner to Colleton County in every reference in the agreement. 3 dates and location fee. Low County Story LLC agrees to pay the Colleton County Treasury a fee of $1,000 per day for use of the Colleton County courthouse facilities. So as long as it doesn't supersede any court proceedings, payment will be made by the close of production. Number 10, miscellaneous. Wait, what is this? 10, miscellaneous. Okay. Colleton County, South Carolina can only enter into a legal agreement for services if it's governed by here in South Carolina, not New York. As an elected official, I have no authority outside the state of South Carolina. I can't really read this. It says, also in exchange for the use of the likeness of Rebecca Hill in an interview, and imminent, I don't know what this says. Something, I don't know what the hell that says. Of 5-second video, 0.05 second video, and audio clip will accompany the usage on the first reference. The book cover for the book, Behind the Doors of Justice, Murdaugh Murders will be shown, and the audio will include Becky's introduction as Clerk of Court for Carleton County and author of the book. Okay, I can't read that, but I think they're gonna read it. Okay, that's what it says right here. Ms. Hill sent a memorandum to the film purporting to be an addendum to the contract. Memorandum from Rebecca Hill, May 9th. In it, she demanded for the film crew pay Carleton County a fee of $1,000 per day for the use of courthouse facilities and made a nonsensical statement about not having authority outside of South Carolina that reflects a failure to understand the choice of law clause in the contract. Then she bizarrely added a handwritten demand. That part I don't really understand. Okay, also in exchange for the likeness of Rebecca Hill in her interview, it's an interview, a minimum, that was the word, of unclear 5-second video audio clips will accompany the usage of the first reference. The book cover for the book, Behind the Doors of Justice, the Murdaugh Murders, will be shown, and audio will include Becky's introduction as Clerk of Court for Carleton County and author of the book. Is it really a bizarre demand? I don't know. The film crew ignored her addendum as the contract has already been executed. Oh, it was because the contract already was executed, and then the fact that she wrote it in a handwritten demand. That's bizarre, I guess. But like her jury tampering during trial was an attempt to violate South Carolina Code, which provides no public official, public member, or public employee may knowingly use his official office, membership, or employment to obtain an economic interest for himself. Legal standard. A defendant in a criminal prosecution is constitutionally guaranteed a fair trial by an impartial jury, and in order to fully safeguard this protection, it is required by the jury render its verdict free from outside influence. So they are referring to this right here and saying that, the jury may have been tampered with because of this court clerk, or not may have. They're saying that she did tamper with the jury and she made these comments. So that's why they're asking for the new trial. All right, so argument. A state official, Rebecca Hill, the elected clerk of court, had extensive private communications with the members of the jury during trial. Now, there's a lot of private conversations that were alleged, but we don't know the content of those private conversations. But some of the other stuff doesn't seem pretty good, but I don't know. It's like they have one juror that signed an affidavit. The other one, I don't know if I find credible. And then 2 other jury members that spoke with Harpootlian and the legal team, but they didn't sign their own affidavits. So, I don't know. We'll see. These allegations supported by sworn affidavits of jurors and a witness to juror interviews, testimony at in-camera proceedings, and other evidence, including Ms. Hill's own book. The court, therefore, must hold a Rummer evidentiary hearing. If the allegations are proven at the evidentiary hearing, then under binding appellate precedent, the court must grant a new trial unless it clearly appears the subject matter of the communication was harmless and could not affect the verdict. The subject matter of Ms. Hill's communication was the evidence being presented at trial by the defense. These improper comments and efforts to influence the juror's verdict vitiated the sanctity of the jury's deliberation and Murdaugh's sacrosanct right to the fair and impartial jury. The court must therefore grant a new trial if the allegations are proven. In a 6-week trial, people will talk when they should not. They will say things that they should not say. Mistakes will be made. The participants in a trial are fallible human beings. Lawyers combing the proceedings after the fact will always find they make mistakes and errors. If that were enough to force a redo of the trial, no verdict would stand, and the trials would be repeated forever. To avoid that, courts properly strain to find that mistakes made during trial are harmless, meaning they did not change the result. But the issues now before the court are not the ordinary and the inevitable mistakes that occur in any trial. The issue here is that an elected state official engaged in intentional misconduct, deliberately violating a defendant's constitutional right to a fair trial before an impartial jury to secure financial gain for herself. Where a state actor engages in private communication with a jury about the merits of prosecution, the verdict is impossible to sustain. For example, in Parker v. Gallatin, the bailiff told a juror in the murder trial that wicked fellow, he is guilty. The Supreme Court of Oregon held the statement did not require a new trial because it has not shown the statement prejudiced the outcome of the trial. The U.S. Supreme Court reversed, holding the evidence developed against the defendant shall come from the witness stand in the public courtroom where there is full judicial protection of the defendant's rights of confrontation, of cross-examination, and of counsel. We have followed the undeviating rule, and the rights of confrontation and cross-examination are among the fundamental requirements of the constitutionally fair trial. In this case, the court has declared on the record that the verdict that the jury reached is supported by the evidence, circumstantial evidence, direct evidence, and all of the evidence pointing to one conclusion, that the conclusion that you all, the jury, reach now. Video of the trial proceedings. The court has therefore foreshadowed the outcome of any harmless error analysis, but the rule for deciding whether to grant a new trial is not whether the court believes the outcome of the trial would have been the same had Ms. Hill's jury's tampering not occurred. If that were the case, the court would sustain the guilty verdict even if she coerced the jury to vote guilty at gunpoint, because, in the court's opinion, all the evidence pointed to only one conclusion: the guilt of the accused. If the strength of the evidence against the accused in the eyes of the court excuses deliberate jury tampering by the state actor, the result is a directed verdict for the prosecution, a structural error. That cannot be the law. Instead, the law requires the subject matter of the communication to be harmless, clearly harmless. Asking the juror what it wants for lunch is clearly harmless. Telling it not to believe the defendant when he testifies is not. Our Supreme Court recently made this point in State v. Green. In Green, during jury deliberations, a juror asked the bailiff what would happen in the event of a deadlock. He responded the judge would likely give them all an Allen charge and asked if they could stay later. The Court of Appeals held the bailiff's comments were presumptuously prejudicial because of his official position, but that the state rebutted that presumption by showing, by various reasons, that the remark did not in fact influence the outcome of the jury's deliberation. The Supreme Court affirmed but modified the decision to correct the Court of Appeals' reasoning. The communication was not presumptively prejudicial because the subject matter of the communication was harmless. The bailiff's action here, though improper, did not touch the merits, but dealt only with the procedural question of how the judge might handle a jury impasse that apparently never materialized. In other words, a bailiff telling the jury that if it's deadlocked, the judge will instruct him to keep deliberating is improper, because likely harmless because the subject matter is procedural or logistical, rather than the merits of the case. Telling the jury not to believe the defendant's defense or his testimony when he testifies regards the merits of the case. Wait, so could this actually apply to her saying that, like, hey, if you guys don't decide, you guys have to stay overnight, and then also like, oh, you can't have your smoke breaks? Could that be kind of similar to what they brought up here, which would kind of like go against the argument? Telling the jury not to believe the defendant's defense or his attorney or his testimony when he testifies regards the merits of his case. Ms. Hill's extensive, deliberate, and self-interested jury tampering far exceeds the simple bailiff mistakes that forced a retrial in Cameron, where a bailiff's misleading response to a juror's question about sentencing options compromised the jury's impartiality because it left the impression that the verdict could not affect the trial court's sentencing discretion. Unlike the honest mistakes of the bailiffs in those cases, Ms. Hill had many private conversations with the jurors about the merits of the case. She asked jurors about their opinions on Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocent. But I think like one of the times that she asked if she thought that the juror, I think the one time that she asked a juror if they thought that Murdaugh was guilty or innocent was when she was trying to investigate the Facebook posting, right? I don't know. I guess we need to get really specific with this. She instructed them not to believe the evidence presented in Murdaugh's defense, including his own testimony. She lied to the judge to remove a juror she believed might not vote guilty. And she pressured jurors to reach a guilty verdict quickly so she could profit from it. Each of these actions violated Ms. Hill's oath of office, her responsibility to the citizenry and the judiciary of the state, and Mr. Murdaugh's constitutional right to a fair and impartial jury. Jesus. The law applied to these facts required a new trial. Conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, Mr. Murdaugh respectfully submits the court must hold an evidentiary hearing to receive proof of the facts stated above. When the facts are proven, the court must grant a new trial. Respectfully submitted, Dick Harpootlian. Jesus. You think it's just highly paid lawyers grabbing assaults attempting to gaslight their way into the appeal for Alex? Yeah, I mean, we have, let me go to this exhibit right here. Go back to exhibit. Oh, I was going to read the passage from the book. I don't know. There's some arguments that I think seems kind of weak. Like the part where they're talking about how they all went and took a trip to Moselle. And in the book excerpt, she said that, like, you know, everyone knew that, it seems like everyone knew that Alex Murdaugh was guilty and lied about it because you could see in their eyes. Like, I don't know. That's like, that to me sounds like a stretch, you know, like just with their eyes. If they made like, I don't know, maybe like comments accompanied by some facial expressions, then maybe, but I don't know, just by someone's eyes. So again, so far we have the affidavit of, juror number 630. And then we have the affidavit of juror 785, who was the egg juror. But the other jurors didn't sign an affidavit. Instead, Harpootlian had his paralegal say that, like, hey, we interviewed these people and that's what they said. But yeah, I don't know. I think when I first skimmed through this, I was like, oh wow, this sounds pretty crazy. But like now on like second look, I was like, I don't know. Well, not really. I don't know if I'm like totally convinced. But again, like if they have this investigation, then we can find out more, right? To see if there's going to be other jurors who's going to corroborate with the other 2 jurors. So here's the book right here. I want to read some of the excerpts, though. I'm kind of curious. Why did they include these excerpts? Let's see. While Dateline producers were in town for the trial in February 2023, they asked for Judge Newman's cell phone number, which I was given permission to provide to them. Then Craig reached out to Judge Newman to reconnect. Craig grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, where his family and Judge Newman's family knew of each other. In fact, Craig was friends with Judge Newman's late son. As Judge Newman was beginning in his first of many terms as a circuit court judge in Columbia, Craig was beginning his career there at WIS-TV before getting recruited to a station in Washington, D.C. and then NBC Network in New York. So again, this is excerpts from her book. The exclusive interview with Judge Newman and his daughter, also a judge, took place in Columbia. Valerie Bauerlein, I don't know how to pronounce that, Bauerlein? Valerie Bauerlein is a National Wall Street Journal reporter who has covered the South for 18 years. Slow down. I think the live streams, you might be able to slow it down to 0.75. I think you can in the live streams. Yeah, you should be able to slow it down if it's like too fast. She was a pool reporter sent to Moselle with pool photographer Andrew J. Whitaker of the Post and Courier newspaper. In October 2021, Valerie signed a book deal with the division of the iconic Penguin Random House Publishing Company for a book project about the Murdaugh family of South Carolina. As it so happened, my 55th birthday fell during the trial in the spring of 2023. My birthday is March 10th, and Valerie was born in late February, so it was decided to have a party for both of us at her Airbnb the night of her birthday. She invited many of her colleagues who were covering the trial for the regional and national media outlets. There was food, birthday cake, lots of laugh, and a little truth serum in a form of liquid refreshments. As we were cleaning up after the party, a few of us were asked about how we would vote at that point in the trial if you were members of the jury. Before answering, we pledged a cone of silence, and for that reason, I cannot reveal the results of the straw jury poll. What I can say is that many of the party guests agreed with what ended up becoming the actual verdict of the trial. The Today Show and Deadline. I don't know why this is. Why did they copy this? While we're on the Today Show, Sunday night after Alex was sentenced, I accompanied 3 jurors from the trial. Oh, okay, sorry. So this is the part where Murdaugh's lawyers are like, oh, she went with the jurors to an interview in New York City. Sunday night after Alex was sentenced, I accompanied 3 jurors from the trial to New York City. As I mentioned earlier, Craig Melvin and Savannah Guthrie of Today's Show interviewed the 3 jurors during a 7-minute high-energy segment. While we were all in the Today Show green room, we met and took photos with a country music star, Dustin Lynch, who was also getting ready to appear on the program to sing one of his hit songs. Is this common? It does sound kind of weird. I don't know. It just sounds kind of weird, I guess. It's just like, oh, okay. Like, she's like getting together the jury and they're going in this interview together. I don't know. I don't know if it's against the rule, but it just sounds kind of weird, I guess. But I don't know. This is something that's like maybe normally happens in like high profile trials or something. While we were in, we took pictures, Once the taping of the Today Show concluded, we were whisked away from the 850-foot skyscraper building by a driver in the black Chevy Tahoe to a different studio near 30 Rock, where Dateline tapes some of his segments. What stuck out to me was that one of the jurors mentioned to a producer that she was craving for pizza and cheesecake. The next thing we knew, we were both delivered in time for lunch. The trip was extra special to me because it was my first time ever flying in an airplane. We flew from Charleston to New York City and could order whatever we wanted. I chose pretzels and a Coke to relieve some anxiety. And then a black Chevy Tahoe car service was sent to pick us up from the LaGuardia airport, and we got a ride through one of those dark underwater tunnels that led us out in the city that never sleeps. NBC put us in the hands of the fabulous Haley Barber, Dateline producer, who put us all up in a nice Manhattan hotel, fed us at a restaurant on the Avenue of the Americas, a block away from the 30 Rock in Midtown Manhattan, on the eve of the interviews. Afterwards, the juror told me they felt like they were being heard and loved their 15 minutes of fame in the Big Apple. Why did she go with them? That's what I want to know. Is it because she was like the connection with the reporters to get the jurors to go on these interviews? And that's why they're like, okay, well, I guess you can come with us, even though we're not going to interview you. I'm just confused why she was like with them, I guess. She's not a bad writer. She's not a great writer. But we're only reading like 2 pages. I don't know. It kind of sounds like we're reading a diary, I guess. What is this one? Page 96. It's a different page, I think. Okay. Let's read this one. 96. I think this is about Satan. caught a new visitor to the courtroom who was sitting directly across from her, who looked like she may have been taking a picture of the jury, and that wasn't going to fly with her. Another juror couldn't or wouldn't sit still during the trial, and it made it seem like every time she shifted her chair, it made a loud squeak. Occasionally, attorneys would wait for the rhythm of the squeaks to subside before continuing their cross-examination. Then there was the egg lady juror. The juror worked on a monkey farm in a low county and then drove Judge Newman bananas one weekend, unintended. Through the Facebook page, Walterboro Word of Mouth, about 20,000 followers saw this juror's ex-husband post about how she was talking way too much to friends. Oh, so maybe the egg lady found out about this excerpt and was like, damn, she's bad-mouthing me. And I talked to my ex-husband and he said it wasn't true. I see. Okay. About how she was talking way too much to friends and family about the case. Many people became aware of the situation after court on Friday, February 24th, and it was brought to the attention of Judge Newman. I typically didn't have the time or energy to watch any media coverage of the trial, but on that Friday night, I scrolled through the Walterboro Word of Mouth social media feed and saw the post from the ex-husband, but he didn't mention the juror's name or her juror number. At the time, I didn't think anything of it and kept scrolling. I don't see why you wouldn't screenshot it. I don't know. Maybe it's so common for people to see people making accusations about this of the juror, and then you're just kind of like, whatever, let's just dismiss it. I don't know. I feel like you would take every accusation kind of seriously, and you would just like screenshot, be like, hey, by the way, judge, this is something I saw. I don't know. At the time, I didn't think anything of it and kept scrolling, mainly because I had been inundated with emails and messages from people all over the world about what they had heard, what they had seen, how the prosecution and defense should run their case, how Judge Newman should rule, what to address with anyone and everyone involved in the courthouse, and so on. I felt like a principal dealing with the tattletales and problems and issues every day. It was tiring. I mean, just ignore the emails then. When Monday morning came, Judge Newman asked me to find the social media posts. One of the techies in the clerk's office, Lori Weiss, looked and couldn't find it at first. Luckily, though, she kept looking and saw where the post was taken down and replaced with an apology from the juror's ex-husband. Wait, how did Lori Weiss not notice that the date was off, though? Do we just... I don't understand how that happened. So the apology post was written on February 16th, and that would have been way before anyone saw the February 24th post, the original post. I don't know how anyone didn't realize the dates were off. Yes, diary is more accurate. Free lunch? You would go? I don't know. I don't like traveling for if it's not I don't know. I'd be like, meh. I don't know. It doesn't sound very fun. Traveling with other people, but we'll see. Okay, so she found the post. Luckily, though, she kept looking and saw when the post was taken down, replaced with apology from the juror's ex-husband. He said that Satan had gotten a hold of him and he had been drinking at the time, and he posted and was now very sorry. I felt like they would have just taken this post, be like, hey, is this your ex-husband? And she would have been like, nope, that's not him. Okay. After Judge Newman interviewed the juror and corroborating witnesses about the situation, he removed the juror from the jury before court started that Monday morning. We learned later the ex-spouses hadn't seen each other in 14 years, and the former juror had 3 restraining orders against her ex-husband. When a juror is removed from a jury, it's normal practice for a judge to ask if there's any personal items they'd like to retrieve from the private jury room. When Judge Newman graciously presented this question to the former juror, she said that she just wanted to get her eggs, which caused some laughter in the courtroom and nationally once the media got hold of the story. Judge Newman even broke out one of the largest grins I've ever seen. One of the jurors raised chickens on their farm and brought in dozens of eggs, whoever wanted them. At this time, eggs were selling for about $8 a dozen. Oh yeah, eggs are so expensive, dude. I had to stop eating eggs. It was just too much, which is very high. It's so understandable why the removed juror wanted her eggs. Okay. I mean, I don't know. It could have just been a mistake. I feel like it could have just been a mistake. The juror showed a picture of her husband. And then maybe the person just didn't really look at the picture closely to realize that the two weren't the same. I don't know. I'm starting to think that it's just maybe a weak argument on the Murdaugh's lawyer's side. While the jurors viewed the Murdaugh property, we all could hear and see that Alex's story was impossible. God gives us gifts, and the gifts of discernment is shared by many. Some of us, either from the courthouse, law enforcement, or jury at Moselle, had an epiphany, shared our thoughts with our eyes. I mean, I don't think that's a big deal, the eye part. Murdaugh's attorneys are like, oh, see, they all consulted each other because, this is what she said in the book. But it was with her eyes. I just don't think that's a huge deal. Okay. At the moment, many of us standing there knew, I knew, and they knew that Alex was guilty. Once we were all back inside our vehicles, heavy-hearted and contemplative, our procession headed back along the Highway 63 towards the town center of Walterboro. The wind had died down mysteriously. The sun began to shine through the clouds. One of the roles of the clerk of court is to be Switzerland between the jury, the lawyers, the public, and any other entities involved. In the moments running back in our vehicle and with the jurors and decision makers in our vehicles, we were just regular people. Our thoughts spilled out, just as the jury would do in a span of 3 hours. We unanimously came in our own verdict in just 3 minutes. Guilty. Wait, what are you talking about? They're riding back in the vehicle. Their thoughts spilled out. Just as the jury would do in a span of 3 hours, we unanimously came to our own verdict in just 3 minutes. Guilty. I'm a little confused with the sentence. In my opinion, the decision to visit Moselle by Murdaugh's defense team did not work in their favor. They were hoping to show that a proximity was too close for one shooter, and they felt the pictures didn't show the distance correctly, said Doug Brown, who worked for the defense team during the trial. Many of us question if Alex is bipolar, schizophrenic, or narcissist, but while some wonder if he snapped during financial pressure, Paul's boating accident and the crumbling of the familiar dynasty. Right is right and wrong is wrong. When and where did this family begin to blur this fact of life? This moral compass that rules most law-abiding citizens didn't seem to exist in Alex. I really don't want to believe that a father would murder his son and wife. Sometimes, though, the line of love gets blurred and turned to crimes of passion and crimes of desperation. I believe most people cannot fathom killing or hurting a family member, especially in the name of love, but during the time of Moselle, Alex's fate was sealed. Yeah, I don't know if the eye thing, I don't know, that's like a big deal to me. Was there anything else that we didn't get to read? Let me see. You read that? And we read that. Okay. This is harpootlian. Enclosed, please find appellant's motion to suspend appeal and leave to file a motion for a new trial in connection with the above referenced matter. I will have a $50 check delivered to the court for the filing fee. Thank you for your assistance in this matter. With the warmest personal regards, I am sincerely Dick Harpootlian. I mean, if what they say is true, if the lawyers interviewed other juror members and they all corroborated and they didn't ask leading questions and they brought, they made these statements on their own, then yeah, it's gonna look really bad. Looks pretty yikes. But I just don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of just like, I don't know if it seems as strong as what I initially thought when I first skimmed through this. Because also, one of the jurors that didn't sign the affidavit, I mean, I don't think they really said anything that was too crazy. Was it this affidavit? This one right here, right? Saying they're like, oh yeah, they were like in private rooms. They were having conversations, but we don't know what those conversations are about. It could be about anything. Saying that like juror 326 was asked if Ms. Hill told the jurors not to let the defense mislead them. He did not specifically recall this statement, but he did recall that Ms. Hill commented to him and other jurors that the photos would be admitted to evidence and the images would be disturbing. I mean, I don't know if that's a big deal. I could have sworn that judges usually kind of give that warning to the juror, like, hey, the pictures shown is going to be really disturbing. Like, I could have sworn that was a thing. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for Lori Daybell to appeal, when you're guilty of murder, everyone's going to appeal. Shoot, Letitia Stout, is she going to appeal too? So yeah, there's that. Harpootlian said in the press conference that the state attorney has about maybe 10 days to reply, and let's see what they say. Let's see what they say about this. What are your guys' thoughts on all this? I feel like the murderer was a fit of rage. He was too clever to believe he can get away with planning that up. Man, I just feel like I feel like he just planned it that day. Like, you know what? I need to get sympathy from my homies, my friends, my coworkers. How do I get sympathy? Maybe the murdered. Maybe he only planned on murdering Paul. He didn't plan on murdering Maggie, but because maybe he thought Maggie was a lot further away than he originally thought after he murdered Paul. Maybe he thought, maybe Maggie was a lot closer. Maybe she saw him with the gun and she's like, oh shit, I have to kill Maggie now. Because like, to me, I was just like, why would he kill two people? Why not just kill one? Because you would still get a lot of sympathy if one of your family members was murdered. But, I think that, Maggie died too because she probably saw it. I'm also wondering, how are these lawyers going to get paid? I thought the funds for these attorneys was draining. How do they have the jurors' information? I think they have access to that. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think this, if this entire thing has to, if there's a new trial, do you guys think that Alex Murdaugh is going to testify? Because, I think Alex Murdaugh has, I think he has an ego. I think he thinks he's really good with people since he's tricked a lot of people in the past, right? For his like financial schemes and stuff like that. I think he thinks that he's like so charming, irresistible. And he probably thought that he was going to charm his way while he was on the stand. But, I think if he was given a new trial, I don't think he's going to testify. I don't know. But the thing is, like, if a new trial happened, because the previous trial, the reason why it was such a mess was because midway, they had to change their story. The defense did. Because initially, he maintained that he was never at the kennels. And then I think even the attorney said it in the opening statement, right? And then at some point, he had to testify. And he was like, okay, you know what? I was at the kennels. I was there. Yep, I was there. Why didn't I tell the truth to Sled? Geez, it was because I just have a distrust of Sled. Yeah, I do a lot of drugs. I eat like 200 pills a day. Oh God, do I still think he's guilty? Yes, I do. I do think he's guilty after everything. So yeah, that's a recap of that. So Alex Murdaugh and his attorneys, they put in a motion to suspend appeal and for leave to file a motion for a new trial. They had a press conference earlier today. If you guys missed it, you can listen to it. They answered some questions. And, I was just, I don't know. They do answer some questions because I was wondering, how did the attorneys get wind of this? How did they know to, investigate some of the jury members? But when Harpootlian was asked this question by the members of the press, he was just like, we heard about it. And then we tried to talk to the jurors after the trial. No one wanted to talk to us. It wasn't until that this book had came out where the juror member like reached out to him. And I guess based off of that, maybe some other people reach out as well. Apparently saying that like, they weren't happy that the court of clerk was profiting from this book deal and going on tours and stuff when they knew behind the scenes she was doing, some weird stuff. But here's the thing, like Judge Newman specifically said that do not discuss this case with anyone else. And initially, my excuse for that was like, maybe the jurors just thought that this person of authority, the court clerk, maybe they thought that she was following the rules and that she knew better. And that's why, like, whenever she, like, sort of discussed the case or did discuss the case outright, they were just like, she probably could because, she's a court clerk. She probably knows any better. But I don't know. Now that I'm like, I looked at one of the transcripts, how in her affidavit, she was accusing the court clerk of doing all these things. But then we look at the court transcript of Judge Newman specifically asking her, has the court clerk discussed the case with you guys or any of the jurors? And she's like, not that I know of. That would have been her chance to be like, actually, yeah, she's been saying things about Murdaugh. She's been saying things to us. I don't know why she didn't do that. But anyways, we'll see what else happens of this. We'll see what happens.